Hey everyone, this is Zan, and welcome to the patch notes for Dominion's patch 6.23. Now, the game has been out for a while, and Illwinter doesn't necessarily do a lot of balance changes, but in this patch, I feel like they listened to a lot of the complaints that people were talking about and made what I think and I hope are a few good changes. So I'm going to go through them here with you, but starting with their own summary, the fear ability now has a reduced effect and can no longer lower morale by more than its value. And I did double check that a lot of the pretenders and creatures that had really high fear values, like 25 or so, did actually get tuned down to somewhere between 5 and 15. Asphodel got some nerfs with slower free spawning and an increase to their fort construction rituals, and caves have less population and therefore less gold. Special cave terrains are more rare. Caves tended to have a lot of gems in them, carried over from Dominions 5, where they were rare. So this is just, I think it's a fair tweak. So going down the list, we have that national rebates for many artifacts. I think that's pretty cool. Um, I found myself in certain games trading with other players specifically and giving them interesting deals just because maybe they had a discount at crafting some sort of booster or item that I wanted. So, in the case of artifacts, now it kind of gives you the incentive of do I let this player know that I'm interested in the artifact? Can they craft it? It just adds another little layer. It's very minor. The new unit, the Statistician Medium Infantry, I'll show it here in a second. Um, Honestly, it's not very remarkable. I wish they had either a javelin or just a falchion with their shield. I think that would make them more interesting. Otherwise, I guess their best claim to fame is that they have the same map move as early Tissa's Serpent Dancers, and for some people that might be useful, right? There is a new spell with Featherweight Army. It's going to be shown here, and it will cost Air Magic 4, 2 gems, and it's going to give mass floating. So floating is kind of neat as opposed to flying because it helps you avoid Earthquake, Earth Meld, Maws of the Earth, and importantly, grants you Swamp Survival. So now you can combo this with Quagmire. High air and high water tend to be an odd set of paths, but hey, just something else to add to the late game checklist, right? I did also test it. It does not reduce the encumbrance from armor like the Bless does. So maybe that should. Maybe that'd be interesting. We'll have to see how it goes for now. So ranged Frost Mist weapons, the Bless, now create a cloud on misses too. And I think this is actually a very good buff to this Bless. I honestly haven't seen anyone use it. But I've tested it around with certain nations with ranged sacreds, and I think it could be really good. But for sure, not having the clouds created on misses did bring it down a lot. Friendly units are now immune to the effects of unholy weapons. It, this is okay. I mean, it makes sense. It's not bad. I feel that a lot of the nations that have sacred archers that are using the unholy weapons bless often don't have sacred units up front, kind of body blocking at the same time. It's odd. It's an odd scenario where you have both, but hey, it's a great fix. Why not? So the fear and dread blesses are now more expensive. Um, Fear can now lower morale at most the same value as the fear effect, or a max of 10. This is fantastic. I did do some baby tests. It still goes down at the same speed that it used to, so which is pretty damn quick. So if it's the usual cavalry and rider fear combo, your morale may still fly down, but the fear bless only gives a +5, which means that um, you're only going to take a penalty of 5 to your morale rather than 10. It's less oppressive, still pretty strong, but it was also made more expensive, which worries me because the double nerf may take it too far, but Fear was really shenanigans in my opinion. The new value is going to be 9 death and 1 turmoil. I mean, most people probably took turmoil anyways when trying to afford the bless, but I guess the turmoil specifically is trying to hit recruitment points. Um, so that would be the cavalry nations, which cavalry tends to have a high recruitment point cost. So I'm pretty excited about this one because I've always wanted Vampiric weapons to do good. The Bless now drains a little, even if the target was killed. So again, I did go in and test it. And on a killing blow, you will get 1 hit point and 4 fatigue points when you kill something with the Vampiric Weapon Bless, which is pretty good. And for reference, the normal values are going to be half the damage you deal in hit points and twice the damage you deal in fatigue points. So I'll just put a little example here. So Arcane Decree not preventing globals when there were free slots available. That's kind of shenanigans. It's kind of the whole point of the global, so glad they fixed that. Shields didn't work against Rain of Stones, so I did test this as well. It looks like it only works to prevent the damage roll. You know how the parry value can stop an arrow from hitting the unit, and it doesn't even go to the damage phase. So I feel like it does that part of it, but it doesn't reduce the damage roll once you get to that phase. Um, when an arrow hits the shield, it's gonna the shields. I think it's the parry value or the armor value. I can't remember. Acts as a negative modifier to the arrow's damage. This doesn't necessarily happen for Rain of Stone, so I think that could be a little extra step to make something like Firbolg, which is what everyone was thinking of with this change, more resilient to it. Unfortunately, it's a step in the right direction for some units, right? The cost of Immortal Pretenders were slightly tweaked, so some of the Pretenders I feel got unfairly hit by this. I hear a lot of chatter about the Vampire Queen. The liches seem okay. I glanced around at a few of the options, and most of them seemed fine. The Demi-Lich was the main hit, and honestly, this was well deserved. I don't think it was fair that the Demi-Lich had as many bless points as Dominion 1 chassis while being a Dominion 3 chassis, but then it's also immortal and can do whatever it wants. I thought that was kind of shenanigans. So I'm glad that got nerfed a little bit. I felt like everyone was using it. Asphodel's nerfs here in the numbers. I think this is just a carryover from the change from Dominions 5 to 6, where now everyone paid more for forts, but Asphodel kind of didn't. They paid the same. Their free spawn rate being reduced. I mean, maybe this is an early game nerf or a late game nerf. No, this would be more of a late game nerf, right? Because early game, they can rely more on their gold units as opposed to their free spawn, right? And again, that's probably a carryover from Dominions 5. Now that they have more gold, they can afford more units. Maybe. I haven't personally played Asphodel. I've rarely seen them played because I did miss the last few months. But I have seen that their win rates were very high and some people were starting to complain about them. So the late age statistics Keeper of the Tombs is now slow to recruit. I thought this is just absolutely necessary. Their strength was warping the nation to be very one-dimensional or two-dimensional fused chariots, but really everything was about the worms. And they scaled up way too quickly for a healthy meta, in my opinion. I actually have played against one or two statistics or late age statistics spamming the worms, and I thought they were crazy strong. They weren't, uncounterable. But in the early game, when your toolkit was very, very small, they were difficult to fight against. So I think this is a good change, especially with all the new units that Late HTS has been getting. I definitely feel like they want to encourage it to play more like its own nation rather than, I don't know, just spam worms, right? So the cave population reduced by 20%, except for cave forests, right? Yep, and then cave systems now have more ordinary caves than non-forests. Again, as I mentioned before, I think since day one, people have been kind of noticing that caves had a lot of gold in them, a lot of population, but also a lot of gems in them because in Dominions 5, caves were actually very, very rare and they had a strong gem modifier. So in Dominion 6 hopefully till now, caves were kind of the most gold and the most gems and the highest chance of having like a gold mine to give you even more gold. So I'm glad this was addressed in some way. The Control Z feature to show in high teleportation movement didn't work. This is fixed. So this was a pretty key feature of Dominion 6. I'm glad it works. Let me see, what else did I write down? Because I had to take some notes, so that's why I'm skimming through and skipping some of these. No multiple weapon fatigue penalty for spellcasters. This is pretty good because a lot of kits that you would give on your thugs or spellcasters or whatnot tended to have two weapons rather than a weapon and a shield. Shields almost always had a high encumbrance penalty, and you didn't really want that on your caster. And two weapons, I mean, maybe you have a booster in one hand and a gem generator in the other one, or just a set of weapons that your thug might be using. Shields weren't the best favor, so this kind of helps out thugs, super combatants, and maybe even just big casters a lot. Legion's Demise now works slower. Thank God, this was a stupid spell. Um, I think I had tested this months ago, and I started telling some of the more experienced players I knew to test this and see if they agreed with me. And essentially, my findings were that Marinese humans, 10 HP humans, routed in about 4 rounds, and the entire field of humans was dead in about 6. And at first, no one believed me until they tested it themselves, and everyone I know at least universally agreed that this was a pretty stupid spell. It was very very strong. I'm pretty sure I showed it around on stream or something at some point, but it is a silly spell, so I hope it's not made useless because it still is a very hard to cast consistently level 9 spell. So I hope it's still good, but it shouldn't wipe the field out before the opponent can do anything. Not at that late stage in the game where it could be very costly. So Veil of Perpetual Mist should now never work against its creator. This is a pretty good throne defense spell. Glad it had this bug resolved before it happened to me. I've seen someone use it against me, but I've never actually cast it to defend a throne or a specific or my capital or something like that. But it definitely is a very thematic, cool sounding spell. Working against me, that would probably be fairly tilting. Stun from the shock damage not being prevented by the state, I guess. This is pretty good because there are scenarios where you maybe take 0 shock damage, but then you still get stunned, and that's kind of silly. Some more beings now having storm immunity or storm power. Storm immunity is a pretty cool trait when something has it, and storm power has no downside, so I don't think it's ever bad. That's pretty cool, honestly. Curious to see what critters got it. And the effects of Half Dead were not shown in the Bless info. So I'm always a big proponent of the Half Dead being a fantastic Bless, mostly because of the Need Not Eat. The disease resistance, I think, got nerfed a little bit in Dominion 6, so it's not as big a deal. I do, however, wish it was Death 1 and not Death 2. Um, Maybe even remove the death requirement at all, because honestly, I don't see a lot of people taking it. But Need Not Eat is a pretty cool trait that you can add to your units. There's certain scenarios, I'm looking at you, Ashdod, where Need Not Eat is probably very fantastic. Anyways, so that's going to be my review of patch 6.23. I'm going to add in the description below. If you haven't already seen it, Lucid also goes through these, and obviously his opinion carries a lot of weight. He's pretty big, good badass at this game. Um, and then for the rest of you, while I have you here, I'm going to just a few channel update while you're here. Why not? I am starting to record again. I'm back. I'm alive. I did get back from my honeymoon and get sick, which slowed me down a little bit, but recording has started. And from here on, I am going to try and make sure that whenever I do upload something that signals that the entire series that is a part of has been completed. So the moment you see me upload the next episode of like the Makone series, that means I've recorded everything I'm going to record of it, and it's all scheduled. Same thing for the High Elves. I am going to start recording real-time strategy games on my own, and I will also put them on the channel piecemeal. And again, once they get put out, once the first episode comes out, that means that the entire series is done. Mostly because I don't trust myself to remain consistent. So I want to make sure that when I do put something out, and ideally you guys get pretty excited about it and want to watch it, that the entirety of it is available. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm not going to stream for some time because I want to get a good backlog and a good schedule of video uploads. And then once I have a month or two ready to go, then maybe I'll start dedicating a day to stream again, probably Thursdays like I used to. And I'll stream some Dominion single player. And ideally, I do want to try to get back into Age of Empires 4 multiplayer. That was super fun, if not stressful and terrifying to do on stream. But yeah, uh, haven't seen everyone in a while, so I hope everyone had a wonderful year. And hope to see you guys soon.